when we build hierarchies is when we invite and last minute I'm not coming and you go, oh darn, and then you have couple guests coming in and you sit next to them at the business overview at the open house at the up night, and doesn't matter how good or bad the speakers are, you just look with a little bit of a corner of your eye at your guests. It's like they got it. There's nothing more exciting in Primerica than seeing a new people getting it, that the first time they get into their heart saying, this is my shot, this can happen to me, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share my actual presentation with you. Now, in that presentation, some of the slides are classic. You heard it, you've seen it, you've used it, because Primerica is still Primerica. But I'm edit a lot more stuff from AGF, AGF Roadshow, some of the stuff I had with the angle on the wealth transfer. So now I will share with you that presentation like I'm talking to the new person. And you got really like, I've seen that slide, Paul, but you know what I find sometimes? Sometimes I hear from like Cheryl Baltred, where I see the same slide that Primerica had for last, 10 years. And the way she would say it, he go, that's a great angle. That's the great explanation. So I want you to pay attention not only to the new material, but I want you to pay attention, if I may, to the old stuff too, because maybe those slides, the way I'm going to share with you, there might be something that you used to do or so good we didn't do anymore, or and so on. So I'm going to jump into presentation to make sure we're not going to run out of time. So this is the Wall of Wealth presentation, and the reason why I did that is because I want to make sure that when we are, focusing on building, focus on recruiting, because it goes in phases, right? Have you noticed your business too? You push hard, you achieve something, and you got to pull back or relax, and then so we're back on recruiting and building and licensing. We never, we never stopped, but we have a different intensity of focus on that part. But just going back to somebody who's been with us for last 5, 8 years, and it's like, oh, now we're gonna recruit. You know what happens? It just falls on deaf ears. So that's why I figure, you know what, we gotta have a new sizzle, new way, something that everybody can rally around and be excited about. And the Wall of Wealth seems like the most logical way for us to bring new people and talk about building a passive income, talk about building a hierarchies and big base shops to begin with. So this is the presentation of the Wall of Wealth. I think I'm supposed to record this. I don't think if I'm recording. Am I recording? It looks like I'm recording. Mike is recording. Mike is doing everything for me, I think. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, good stuff. All right, so again, our background, we used to be in restaurant management. I made used to 40,000. We just missed by 5 grand, the 5 diamond. I had a couple big months coming up, so we got to push back a little bit, to make sure we go over the fifth. But look, I'm a first generation immigrant. I didn't speak any English when I came to North America. I knew how do you do? I'm hungry and I don't speak English. I'm not, this is a fact. Okay. So first I ended up in US. I started as a dishwasher and washing cars. And within 5 years, I managed one of the top 5 Italian restaurants in North America. I managed nightclubs in Chicago, New York, Miami, Minneapolis. Hang around with the Rolling Stones, Billy Joe, Janet Jackson. I'm a 24-year-old kid, coming from a little small town in Poland. That was pretty cool experience, but I knew I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So Agnieszka and myself, which by the way, we've been together since first month of high school, so over 40 years. And you know what? And we're looking for a business. We're entrepreneurs. My parents were entrepreneurs back home, and we looked. I mean, we flew to Florida to look for motels. We being 19-year-old with no money, but we dreamed big. And after 5 years, we couldn't find anything. And for personal reasons and immigration reasons, we moved from Minneapolis to Waterloo. And I answered the local record, our local newspaper, KW Record. And we didn't know we're in the middle of recession in early 90s. There was no jobs. There was one ad from Primerica. We answered the ad, and you know the rest of the story. Year and a half later, at age 26, I was VP, and we built by the book. Our replacement was 3 RVPs today. and continue on. So today we oversee about 6,000 investment accounts, about $750 million of insurance through the hierarchy. Life is good. Now, are we satisfied? Heck no. Do they think that we're going to be only at 500,000? Heck no. But guess what? Compared to where we were, holy cow, what a life. What a life. So interesting enough, that so I got hired through Kitchen Waterloo Record. That's a local newspaper. Again, 30 plus years ago, and they run every year like the best, restaurant, best, car shop. So for the last 2 years, I was named the number one financial planner in 2024, investment company, insurance company, financial advisor. And I just found out, as you probably have, I can't compete this anymore. It's against the policies. I can't do this anymore. But guess what happened? The person who is organizing the whole event for 15 years, we became friends over the phone when I won this, and great personality. I said, hey, why don't you come and see what's going on here? Well, he just passed LQP. The person from the records, since I can't participate in this by law, we're gonna do even better, because now we became a great friends, and he's gonna be a Primerica representative based on how well we've done. But you know about Primerica's story, 150,000 representatives. We went from $15 per share to about 260 right now. That's about 1,700% growth. Now, why this is relevant to you as a person looking into our business is because guess what? This is a global investment community, how much they believe in our story, how much they believe and invest $8 billion, $9 billion that the market cap of Primerica is today globally. So they obviously they see a big future into our company. And we used to be part of Citigroup, Citibank, long story. But again, in 2010, we IPO. So we've been free on the New York Stock Exchange for the last 15 years. And we're getting accolades in all areas. We don't have time to go through all of those, but double award. Maybe a lot of people are not familiar with, but a lot of people are familiar with J.D. Powers, mainly in the car industry. People can relate to that. This is about, Client Services Award. Now, only 2% of financial companies get this award. We have not missed a year in the last 20 years. This is rare. This is our client saying, I love what my representative done for me. Most trusted, best women employer for women, most trusted by Forbes, Fortune 1000, AM Best, and Moody's. I'm not sure familiar with those names. Some people are, some people aren't, but most people are familiar with Equifax. So people can relate to that. Are you familiar with Equifax? Oh, yeah. It's the credit rating when I bought a house, when I got a car. Well, AM Best and Moody's are the same for corporations. And guess what? That shows how stable the company is. Not your personal credit rating in Equifax, but this is a Primerica Corp. And we get double, triple A's from both of them. You don't need to know much other than if your child comes from school, have a double A, you're good, right? You triple A plus, you're good. So again, we're getting accolades in all areas. Now, but this is our wheelhouse. I know this is a busy slide, but I just want to walk you through because we do so much. We do full holistic financial planning. The only thing we don't do is we don't do retail banking. What do? We don't do checking saving account. I have a checking saving account to pay my bills, do my banking, but everything else we do. So going from the bottom, Surex, company out of Calgary, very innovative, dealing with a couple dozen different firms across Canada, coast to coast, in area of car and home insurance. Now, everybody wants to save money at car and home. Would you agree? So just think about it, about you pursuing business with us, possibly, if you qualify to work with us. And think about, can you talk to your friends and family or a stranger and say, hey, would you like to save money on car and home insurance? Who wouldn't want to try, right? And all what it is, you're going to have a link on your phone. You're going to send them the link, and Assurex professionals will look after everything. They'll keep you in the loop, and then you get paid. Pretty cool process. Would you agree? Legal Shield, to do a full a will today, Ontario is north of $1,000. We can do this for fraction of the cost. To have a will professionally done through Mills and Mills, a law firm in Toronto. This is very rare because guess what? Most people don't have a will or don't have an updated will, and not because they think is a bad idea, is because what, is easy to postpone, or it costs too much. Well, we can help them with that. Going clockwise, banking, debt solution, 812. Again, we have access to A lender, B lender, C lender, private money, you name it, commercial, residential, debt consolidation, first home purchases. We can help. We can do RSP loans for some tax strategies as well. So that's our space as well. Life insurance, we're the largest market of term life insurance in the world. We currently have a $1 trillion of insurance in force as a firm. 1 trillion. Very few firms in the world of the history of the world insurance ever achieved that. And as I mentioned, my personal little branch here, we oversee $750 million of insurance in force. Canadian protection plan is for somebody who can't get a regular coverage. We do health dental benefits. So we don't only work with individuals and families, but we also work with small and mid-sized companies. That's a big market. So maybe business owners. There's a lot of small companies that employ, a big percentage of Canadians. There's a bakery, there's a car shop, 5-10 employees. None of the firms on Bay Street are interested to help them. Well, we will. And what happens is you sign them up, you help them with, health dental benefits, travel benefits, or pensions or group RSPs, and then individually you can have those appointments. You have them as clients. So it's kind of a wholesale approach where one signature can lead to 20, 30 clients. That's pretty cool, right? Canada Life, there's a specific, and the common sense funds, there's segregated funds for unique situation area of investments. But if you look at the right side, that's the biggest part of what we do. Predominantly, we are investment brokerage house. Now, we deal with many different firms. I don't know if you're familiar with some of them, most of them, all of them. But the two primary firms we deal with, they're both Canadian premier investment firms. Now, through them, we have access to some of the US firms like Fidelity or BlackRock, but Mackenzie and AGF, they're both out of Toronto. They're both Canadian. They're both icons and the top firms in investment business in this country for decades. So we always partner up with the best of the best. Why can we do that? Well, just think it for a second. We're the largest distributor of finance and financial services in this country. Everybody wants to market through our channels. Does that make sense? So guess what? We can bring the best of the best. We're getting phone calls at Mississauga head office and our global head office in Atlanta every single day. Companies say, hey, can you sell XYZ service or product through your channels, through your 5,000 offices? So we can pick the best of the best. We don't have to fight for their business. They have to fight for our business. But consequently, we can be that competitive for our clients as well. So this is our wheelhouse. Well, what do? We find that people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. You probably heard that quote. Because you know what? When we talk to people, nobody says, hey, I want to live paycheck to paycheck and retire broke. Nobody wants to do that. But the fact is, if we don't plan, we're going to fail. And that's why, you see somebody working at Tim Hortons at say 6 a.m., on the drive-through. And, maybe they just want to be busy. That's fine. I get it. Maybe financially they don't have to, but probably, that grandma would rather be with the grandkids in Disney if money would not be an issue. Does that make sense? Okay. So we do full financial planning. You say, well, what's the difference between you and everybody else? We have no minimums. With no minimums. We totally believe that if somebody has a $10,000, they deserve the same access to products, services, personal touch, returns, technology to that somebody who actually has $1 million. Would you agree? Furthermore, personally, with my psychology background, not financial background originally, I believe that people have a $50,000, they need more coaching, more help, more guidance than somebody already has $1 million or two. Would you agree? Everybody agrees with that because that strikes into a heart how most middle-income families feel today. So let's talk about specifically about Wall of Wealth. See, over the next 10 to 20 years, we're looking at couple $1 trillion, just so $3 to $4 trillion just in Canada is going to change hands. North America-wise, 80 to 90 trillion, but just in Canada, where baby boomers are going to pass their money to the next generation, to Gen X, to millennials. And maybe you never looked at from the business perspective, but you already have seen that. Maybe somebody in your neighborhood or a member of your family is downsizing a house. They're selling a house for 1.5 million. They're getting a condo and they have 800,000 for retirement. Somebody has to look after that. When the grandparents are selling a farm because none of the kids want to be a farmers. They're in the different careers, and each farm right now that's a 5 million, 10 million happens just like that every single day. And somebody has to look after. And see, average advisors over 50 years old. See, when you have a career for 30 years, you're not thinking usually, or most of them don't think about, beating their records. They think about going to Florida, golfing, downsizing. You might say, Paul, but I'm over 50. That's okay. We'll talk about that in a second, because you can actually build a team in Primerica system of the 20, 35-year-olds, and they will carry you into your retirement age. Where if you're going to be a financial advisor as a lone ranger with a competitor, yeah, starting in financial services when you're 55, 60, 65, it could be a challenging. But in our business is a very unique proposition. Okay, so what's happening is there was the transfer of wealth that we have never seen before. 61% of Canadians own mutual funds. I remember when I started, I had to explain what mutual fund is. People's like, what is it? I remember how many times I had to explain that. People say, oh, I don't want to invest in RSPs because I don't trust government. They were thinking that RSP is to giving money to the government. Like, we don't deal with this anymore. Today it's like, show me the value. How can you do better for me compared to what I currently have? And 94% of investors, they're satisfied with their advisor. So, which means they know there is a value. Okay, they trust advisors. They agree. They're also 90% they agree they're worth the fees. We just need to provide education. And interestingly enough, looking into our business, our firm, although in finance, was not founded, by financial people. Was founded mainly by teachers, because we're all about empowering, teaching, education, not about selling services, although we are in marketing. But check this out. What happens as people passing on? Just yesterday afternoon, I sit down with one of my clients who is my client for almost 30 years, and his wife just passed away. We met for lunch, made all the accounting changes. But what happens is 70% of kids, when the parents pass away, they're going to change the advisor. That's an opportunity. That's an opportunity, because guess what? If there is no movement, there is no opportunity. Would you agree? I spoke with one of the older clients yesterday. She runs a headhunting, a recruiting firm, and she says her business is stagnant because there's no movement. People have a job, they don't want to change because they're worried about, what's happening with the tariffs, with the economy. And the companies are not expanding, it's stagnant. So if there's a stagnation in any business, there is no movement, there is no opportunity. But here, again, there's movement of transfer of wealth, there's a movement of changing advisors, and we are positioned to be able to take advantage of that. Okay, now let's specifically talk about women. See, interestingly enough, in financial services, the equal opportunity for women is kind of cool from the industry perspective for the last few years. Really, we had in 1970s, women in the leadership roles from day one. We understood the importance of women in the financial industry way before the rest of the industry caught up. And so women currently control 2.2 trillion in Canada of wealth, and in the last 2 years it's going to almost double. So it's not only that we want to make sure we serve those women in regards to their financial plans and financial needs, but we want to make sure we have more women serving women. So again, as I mentioned, with the Polish background, yes, we have clients from every single background in the world. That's what Canada is like. But initially, I start with the Polish community. There's something I have in common. And women can relate to women more than men can. So this is an incredible opportunity for women to pursue career with Primerica if you're interested and if you qualified. So this is an amazing, amazing opportunity with this wall of wealth that we have never seen in our lifetime and we'll never seen it again. So let's do a deeper dive saying, okay, I got it, Paul. You're big. I get it. You've done this for 5 decades as a company. Got it. Okay. Well established, 5,000 offices. Got it. But what is the difference between you and Edward Jones? How about Royal Bank? How about Manulife? How about Sun? Like, where's your edge? No. So let's talk about it a little bit. If you don't mind, I'm going to do a deeper dive. If I'm going too fast on some of the things, sit down with the person who invited you, and then we can do a kind of a more personalized conversation for you. So one of the companies I mentioned, again, they're Canadian anchor in the investment business, is Mackenzie Investments. They manage over 200 billion, not million, billion with a B for Canadians. The part of the parent company, Power Financial, then is managing 1.6 trillion, which is one of the top 5 largest financial institutions in this country. So my point is, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this since 1967. The other firm we work very close is AGF Investments. They've been here since 1957. Very innovative, like the first company that allowed Canadians to invest in US market. Like, just think about it. Not before 1957, you couldn't actually buy mutual fund that is investing in US. AGF was not Royal Bank, was AGF that first found that. They're the first who developed a money market, and so on and so forth. So again, we have a tremendous partnership with them. They manage 53 billion of Canadians' money. So let me just get into a little bit deeper. I hope you don't mind. So the last few years, the market's done very, very well. So everybody's saying, including banks, say, hey, oh, you've done so well. We did so well for you, John and Mary. But hey, if the market is going well, can we take a credit that really that our clients are doing well? How do we compare? Because at the end of the day, if we did 10%, but the market did 25, hey, we didn't do so well. On the other hand, if we did 0%, the market dropped -20, we've done phenomenal. So how do you measure that? How to measure Primerica value in the area of wealth management compared to competitors? How we measure is, if this is a median, how many of their investments or mutual funds are above median? So statistically speaking, 50% of their mutual funds are above median, they're average. But if it's 60%, they're above average. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you look at that slide, 85% of AGF funds are above average. That is unheard of in my 33-year career. 85% of their investments I've done better than TD Bank or Scotia Bank or whoever else. Okay, that is compelling. Now let's look at the other statistic. How about last quartile, the best quartile, which means if AGF 25% of their mutual funds were in the top quartile, they're average, logically, mathematically, right? Now, 65% of their funds that we represent are in the top quartile. That is phenomenal. So yes, the market's done well, but we Primerica partnered with the best firms in Canada that truly delivers on the results. So we have one layer of great results because of the market, second layer of our partnership, but there's a third value proposition because we at Primerica have a choice what building blocks or what funds of AGF we use. So we add additional layer of value. So Primerica clients, if you look at the bottom, 90% of our clients are above median. That is incredible. That means that 90% of our Primerica investment clients have done better than average. That's something to be proud of. And if you look at the middle one, 75% of our clients are in the top quartile. So obviously, it's not only that we have a great holistic approach, not only that we actually have is all done through education that people appreciate, not through the sales gimmick, but our products and services deliver such a incredible results. So it makes our job a lot easier. And you might say, Paul, but you know what? I just had a meeting with somebody who is private wealth with Royal Bank. And they talk about, do you do estate planning, all this stuff. And because they think with Primerica, hey, we serve middle market. So is everything basic, plain vanilla? No, we bring Wall Street to the Main Street. So we work with the company Morningstar. I'm not sure if you're familiar with or not, but Morningstar is a #1 firm on Wall Street that provides data to global firms in the area of investments. And we have access to it. Generally speaking, if you don't have $1 million of investable liquid assets, you can have access to this. Yes, you can go on Bay Street and have some of those firms doing, but somebody's 50, 80, 100, 300,000 don't have with you with us you do. Because again, we don't prejudge people based on the size of their wallet, meaning size of their accounts. Because again, we believe in equal opportunity. So this is, by the way, I know it looks complex. We're not going to go through it, but this is actually the first 2 pages up to 50-page document when we do analysis of their investments. Well, let me show you. See, those are you can see those red folders on my side table. Those are my next appointments. So what I do is we can do a full comparison what the client currently has in this situation, TD Bank versus AGF. And now we're not going to go through 50 pages. Most people don't care about that. But what most people care is that they need to know that we know. Does that make sense? Okay. I just went to a specialist dealing with a little of a health issue. And she said, this, kind of, dumb it down for me, not being a medical professional. And I go, got it. But I don't need to know what she knows. I just need to know that she knows, right? Does that make sense? Same thing for our clients. So we truly bring Wall Street to the Main Street. So here's the bottom line. So just think about pursuing with our business. Can you do this? Okay. This is when we run a comparison. By the way, you don't have to run comparisons because we're the best, largest premier firm in financial sector in this country. You can actually send all the information from your prospect to our partners, and they will do all the analysis and give you on the silver platter. Because I don't do analysis. I rather talk to more people, bring more statements, send it to them. So you don't have to do that because it could be overwhelming somebody like myself with not having a financial background. Say, Paul, like how long is it going to take me to learn? Don't worry about it. You just get the statement, send it to them. They do analysis, and this is your job. You tell me if you can handle that, okay? We're going to help you with licenses and everything, but that's what it is. $100,000 invested 10 years ago with a Royal Bank Growth Fund, kind of middle of the road growth fund, one of the largest funds in Canada, versus AGF, one of our partners. Their annual average net of fees of return was 8.3. Our portfolio, apples to apples, 11.6. Both of them are net after fees. 10 years later, they would have 261 with the Royal Bank, 376 with us. Is there a value proposition? IT is because people ask, how did you do this business when you didn't speak English? And IT saying, well, I just showed the slide. They go, huh? And I should give them a pen, and that was it. It is that simple on the end of the day, okay? So obviously, and now let me ask you another question. Do you think they mind that I maybe got paid a couple $1,000 if I give them a value over the next decade of $100,000? I don't think so. We can do this all day long. But you say, Paul, okay, that's growth portfolio. How about people at retirement or more conservative? Same thing, 7.1, 10.8, 230,000 versus 347,000. Small difference or big difference? Now, this is first 10 years. Imagine the next 10, 20, it grows, the difference grows exponentially, obviously. You say, Paul, why are you picking up Royal Bank? Now, I'm not going to pick on Royal Bank. I'm going to pick on TD Bank as well, okay? Because they're all pretty much the same. They're not competitive, generally speaking. So here is growth of TD versus AGF, 7.4 versus 11.6. And again, 236 they will have after 10 years of 100,000 invested 10 years ago versus 376. Same thing on the balance. Again, we walk all over them. So just think from the client perspective. You sit down, if somebody would sit down with you and show you this will be your situation. Would you make the adjustments? Would you be open to conversation? Would you make the changes? Would you have to be like hard sold and convinced, or the facts will speak for itself? So that's what we're talking about today, that we can help you to start career with us so you can do those proposals, do those comparisons, and make those adjustments. So last night, I sat down with the client. She invested 2.5 years ago, $628,000 with me. Last week, she crossed over $1 million. in 2.5 years. That's exceptional. We can't do this on a regular basis. We can promise those kind of returns, but it's nice when it happens. Guess what? She goes, you got to talk to my husband. I talked to him a couple times. Seeing this, I got to be. He doesn't have a 1.3 million that she has with me now. He has about half a million, but again, he sent me all the statements over the weekend. It is that simple. But you say, Paul, that's what all people do, like you. I'm millennial, I do this stuff online. It's cheap. I don't want to pay any fees. Questrade, well, simple. Hey, the 2% MERS or MERs. I saw the TikTok. Stay away from that, right? Okay, fair enough. Let's talk. So here is Questrade. So Questrade again. Those are the returns of Questrade portfolios. Those are the AGF. We walk over all over them regardless because yes, with Questrade, they're going to pay 0.25% or 0.5%, where with us, they might maybe pay 2 or 2.5%, but it's about the net. And it's still the value of active investment with our firms trumps that. And often we do this with a lot lower risk and lower volatility. So you go, okay, that's Questrade. How about Wealthsimple? Same thing, walking all over them. Short-term, long-term, high growth, medium, low risk, you name it. Now, here's the big one, and we don't have a time to get into that, but we can in the future. Those are the rate of returns of Questrade, Wealthsimple of the funds. But if you look at the rate of return of the investor of those funds, they're a fraction. The 10% becomes 2-3% because people are emotionally involved in our money as we all work very hard for it. So guess what? March 2020 was the first big dip of the market beginning of COVID. Those websites crashed for 6 hours because they were so busy because markets was at the all-time low. People, do you think were buying or selling? Selling. So guess what? Sure, you can say, oh yeah, at the Questrade, the rate of return is 10%. But if you look at the actual investor in that fund, might be 2-3% because again, there's no coaching, there's no guidance, there's no hand holding, which is a big part of what we do. And people are, unfortunately, we're all emotional creatures and we sell high and we sell low and buy high because again, if we are doing this on our own and it's Saturday night, you're on the third glass of wine and you go check your accounts with Questrade Wealthsimple and you say 800,000 dropping to 690,000 and you just watch Fox News or CNN, guess what? You click the button and game over. That's the real value that we bring to the consumer. So we're in the right place in the right time. I'm going to speed up a little bit. So what this really means to you. If you're interested, if you qualify with us, you need to get 2 government licenses that we can help you to get. One is through is LLQP, is a 2-weekend course plus self-study. The other one is through Ontario Securities Commissioner in our province, or depends which province you're in, of course. And we're going to help you. We're going to help you. Majority is on your own time. Again, there's only 2 weekends on one of the courses. Now, you can go to college anywhere, and most colleges offers those courses, but you pay 8,000 to 10,000 in tuition, and you have to go full time, which means you can't work full time. So it's not only cost you 10,000, you're going to lose wages not working full time for that year, and you graduate with piece of paper, 10,000 in debt, no experience, and no job, no placement. With us, we're going to cover your cost. Obviously, if we invest that much time and money, you have a placement with us. There's a few places, about 3 places that you pay few $100s as a good faith deposit. You can get reimbursed, but 90% of your cost, you will not even see it, will cover directly on your behalf. So at the end of the day, it should be a wash that you can all those designations more or less for free, a little bit ahead, a little bit behind, but more or less for free. So again, going through a college system versus Primerica, easy choice. So let's talk a little bit more about business before we wrap it up. How our business model works, we can compare it to real estate. You have a broker in real estate and they have agents. Every time the agents buys or sells the house, they make a commission and the broker makes override. That everybody's aware of that, even if you're not in in real estate. So broker has 2 functions: to help those agents to be as successful as possible. True, right? Teach them proper offices, people skills, software, but also the broker's second responsibility to hire more agents. Because if the broker has 5 agents and the other broker has 105 across the street, who is going to be more successful? Now, so would you rather be an agent or broker? Most people would like to be a broker, but if you want to be an agent, that's just a-okay. We have a lot of people who don't want to run their own Primerica office. They don't want to be a branch manager. They just want to do this as a side thing, as a part-time income. That's okay. So how does this compare to Primerica? Well, broker in Primerica is called regional vice president. And again, we have advisors. Every time when an advisor has somebody with a mortgage, with insurance, with investments, they get a compensation, they get a commission. And the regional vice president get override. So similarly, regional vice president, like myself, have 2 responsibilities. One is provide the best environment, training, professionalism to those advisors to be productive, to be successful. But my second responsibility is what today is all about, is to attract new talent in the area to help us to grow our size of our team and have more advisors so we can reach broader community in our region. Does that make sense? So again, in our situation, we get paid 7 different ways. At the job, I got paid one way every other Friday. We don't have time to go through in details, but some of them are common sense: commission, overrides, monthly bonuses, residual income. I'll share that in a second. Stock opportunities. You saw how we've done ownership. If you have a full ownership, you have an average on an average branch with Primerica, you're a millionaire. Okay, incentive trips. We do about 8 to 10 trips a year. That was always our dream. We gone for 3 weeks. We come back for 3 weeks. I do this, and I'm back again somewhere else. I mean, that's truly a dream come true. So, would you rather be an advisor or RVP? That's your choice, and you'll be able to make that choice during your career. So, as we're wrapping up, let me give you some ideas about where's the money come from. What should I expect? So let's say next 3 months you get through on a part-time basis, you keep your job, you keep your house, you keep your kids, no changes. You just give us a few hours a week. On a part-time basis, you plug into some branch training, you obtain those government licenses, which are obviously mandatory, and you become a district leader. That's kind of an entry position with our firm. You sit down with the family, help them with the basic life insurance. They have maybe $100,000 to invest, car insurance, prepaid legal. You'll make just under $1,000, 865 in this example. If you're in a leadership role within a branch, which still could be part-time, by the way, that's about $1,200. If I help that client as a VP, that's over $2,000. So that gives you kind of an idea. Of course, sometimes it's a lot more, sometimes it's a lot less, but let's talk about that. So let's say if you're at the entry level, so we're talking about, let's say February, March, you have enough information that 80% of work you can do independently. If you help one client a month, that's a $10,000 a year part-time income. 2 clients a month, 20. 4 clients a month, so it's a 1 a week, that's $45,000. Business income. And business income is your net gross at that level is almost the same because of how business income generated as far as taxation. I mean, $45,000 a year, that's above average income in Canada. This is part-time, helping one family a week. One a week, not one a day, one a week, part-time. And think, knowing already a little bit of what we do you think there's a few families in your neighborhood, in our city, that could use your help? Of course, it's going to take a little bit of action on your behalf. Yes, you're going to come home at 5 p.m. after a long day of work, have dinner, and at 7 p.m. And instead of watching, AGT, you got to make a couple calls or sit down with somebody. Yes, it's going to take some effort. But we're looking for people who are looking for more. We're looking for people who come at 5 p.m. after work, put the keys on the table and say, honey, I don't think I can do this anymore. They grilling me. I don't have respect for what, for my boss or the corporation, or I don't like my culture. I don't like, what they're asking me to do, or the hours they're pushing me to do, or the promises they're breaking every day. Now, if you're a regional leader, that's 60,000. And if you actually had a RVP, if I help one family a week, I'm making 10,000 a month. That is crazy. But the coolest part, in my view, as we're wrapping up, a coolest part is a passive income. By the way, Lisa, how many minutes I have is not showing for me?
You have 13.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. So The coolest part for me was passive income. Now let's talk about that because with today you saw this on TikTok or Instagram, passive income. It becomes a cliche, and 99% of those YouTubers have nothing. They never accomplish anything in a passive income. A side note, I think I shared this once before. So our daughter's 29. She's been licensed with us since age 18, so in about 10 years. Over the next year to 2 years, she's switching full time from her current career, working as a project manager for some British company, and being part time with us to go full time to work hip to hip. Our son is 25. He grew up in Primerica. He had it was 12 years old, in our conversation with Maria in the hot tub in Broadmoor. Like, our kids are Primerica kids, okay? And so Conrad is in music business. So it's a good example of passive income. If you're good, it's not easy. You can do a song that is 3 minutes and make millions and buy a house from that song. Well, you don't want to hear me sing. So I don't have a shot. So this is my shot. So what passive income is, basically when you do the job once and you receive a remuneration forever. So in our situation, this is how it works, okay? This is important. When you take 100,000 or $1 million from several clients and you manage for them, it's called AUM, assets under management. So let's say first year you generate $1 million from your friends, family, clients, referrals on a part-time basis. You're gonna get paid $10,000-$20,000 in the initial compensation. But now, let's say the client calls you and says, Paul, I need to change my address. See, they don't call AGF, they don't call McKinsey, they call us. So essentially, as a Primerica representatives, we provide services on behalf of those investment firms. So we need to get paid. They pay us every third week of the month. The residual passive income is called dealer service fee. So if you help one client a month, after 5 years with 100,000 average transfer, you will have a $7 million. So you make $27,000 per month at the entry level. 5 years from now, if you help one family a month over the next 5 years, that is not big numbers. Would you agree? That's 27,000. I just spoke with one of my clients. She's retiring as a teacher. She's been a teacher for 31 years. Her net pension is 4,300. That's a lot of early mornings, late nights, everything else. This is $27 part-time, helping one family a month. If your leadership role, which could be part-time, that's 40. If you RVP, that's almost 60. Now, but what if you help one a week? The numbers get crazy. One a week, that's at $30 million just of AUM personally after 5 years. One a week. So as a district leader, as an entry level contract with us, you're making six-figure income in passive income, not active. Obviously, you fire your boss a long time ago again, because you probably, most people, even if you make this money, it's a lot easier or a lot better money than the 100,000 if you make it at the job. And the numbers just are compounding. And you say, Paul, how real is that? How real is that? Because we doubt today, as we should be very cautious. One more quick story. So Conrad our son is between Toronto, Los Angeles, and Miami in his music business. So he spends a lot of time in LA. So guess what? In Beverly Hills, one of the fastest growing businesses is one of this. We think WFG is misleading. There's a lot more WFGs in the other industries, okay? So check this out. You can rent a Beverly Hills mansion with the Ferrari and Lamborghini, with the Gucci bag for a few $1,000s for the afternoon, just to make TikTok videos telling people how to get rich. Little misleading? I think so. So we have to very, very careful who we're listening to. So if anybody ever talks to you about business opportunity, hey, what is the company? How are they doing? Show me, the proof is in the pudding. So here are the numbers. Those are my personal numbers, okay? So 10 years ago, in 2015, my passive income was about $4,500 a month or $54,000 a year. Today is $10,000 a day, 7 days a week. Now, that's a lot of money in my books, and I think for most people would be. I don't need 30, I don't need a 100-foot yacht to be happy. I think for most people, if you're making $1,000 per day, 7 days a week, in guaranteed passive income before you work, I think most people would consider I'm financially independent. Would you agree? Just internalize for a second. What if this would be your life? How happier would you be? How much less stress would you have in your life? What good would you do with those kind of resources? So last night, so Nicole was in our house for a couple of days because we had the business over on Wednesday. So she came to Waterloo from Toronto. And then she was going back last night, back to Toronto. Says, you know what, Mom, Dad, maybe you can drive me back to Toronto. It's an hour drive for us. And then and Conrad, our son, is available for dinner. We'll go for dinner. They're in a great relationship, good boyfriend, good girlfriend. Maybe 6 of us go for dinner. I had a couple of appointments, 2-hour drive. I said, Nicole, just take the train. And hour later, I'm coming to Agnieszka, to my wife, and say, whoa, wait a minute. What are we doing here? We work so hard to be able to, that we can move those meetings on Friday night, that we can go for a few $100 dinner with our kids and their older halves. Why not? So we drove Nicole to Toronto, went for a great dinner in Ossington, which is a new hip area, had a great dinner, went for ice cream, got home at 11 p.m. Why not? And it's just not decision of time, not decision of money, because you control both at those levels. So anytime I have a bad day, and you can still have a bad day even with those incomes, if you look at the right side, in 2033, we should be at 75,000, about 900,000 in passive income. So if I have a bad day, if somebody says, oh, not interested, change their mind, you go, okay, what can I do? I've done my best job. What can I do? Don't have time to go through that. But look, if we look at the passive income, let's say if you say, I want to have additional $5,000 per month coming in, you need $1.2 million invested 5% that is going to generate $60,000 a year, $5,000 a month. So guess what? Where are you at? You 47? How far are you from 1.2 million? Oh, you have 180,000? What are the chances you're going to have 1.2 million at 65? We're not on the right track. Something has to change, right? Insanity is just doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So guess what? 5,000, I guarantee you one thing is, to get you to 5,000 passive income is not going to be easy in overnight. But it's going to be easier and faster than for you saving 1.2 million with your current income and your current job. Would you agree? Let's go. Let's try it out. Okay. So there's 2 different philosophies. One that we've been taught at school: go to school, work for 30, 40, 50 years for somebody we often don't respect or don't like, and with the income that does not give us the dreams. And then maybe if we're healthy enough, have 10, 15 years of retirement. I didn't like this philosophy. I didn't like this path. I like the plan B. Go to school, work for 10, 15 years, and be free. See, I'm working because I can. I have to. And again, like you would agree with $1,000 per day, 7 days a week, you don't have to work. But what we do see, this is my other wall. Those are my magnets from all over the world. We just finished coming back from Andorra, 50th country. And by 2026, we're just going to Africa. We're going to Colombia. So pretty much every 6 weeks, we're gone in a different part of the world. That's how we want to live. But I still love what I do. We're empty nesters. What I'm going to do? Rake leaves, like what I'm going to do. I love this, sitting down with somebody, empower somebody. It never gets old if you genuinely love helping people. But you're doing this on your terms. Eventually you don't have to chase nobody. People come to you because you have the track record and say, hey, you help my brother, my sister, my neighbor, my best friend. Can you help me as well? So we find there's 5 reasons why people pursue our business. They don't like their job, maybe. They maybe want to make extra income, which is almost everybody. Financial education, that's for everybody. Maybe you have a social background or psychology as myself, and you want to help people, or you want to be entrepreneur because working for somebody else and somebody else controlling your life, your income is not the way to go. But really if your income doesn't meet your goals, you have 3 options. You can give up on your dreams, which is for most people. After a while, say, hey, I'm okay with that house. What's wrong with the Toyota Corolla? I can go camping. I don't have to go to Amazon River or Delta, right? but so we give up. Or you can go and ask your boss for major raise. Go tomorrow and say, hey, I just spoke with Paul and just realized that what you're paying me is not enough for me to live my dream. Please don't do that because you're going to lose your job that day, right? But what we're proposing today is start part-time hustle with us and see if our story become your story. Because see, as long as you still have a dream, because it doesn't matter which of those things in those circles are important to you. Some of them, all of them, but long as there are some of those things are important to you, we still have a common ground. Because the only thing that is just bad is if you don't have a dream anymore, you just give up. And we can help you to do this. You can travel the world. You can be respected in your community, your friends, family, and you can do right things in financial services by helping others, not by taking advantage of others. And then, do we have a track record? This is a book which is that thick of everybody who makes over 100,000 a year. Okay, over a half a million, over a million, with over 6,000 people making six-figure income. That's more than anybody in Google or Microsoft or Apple. We're the best secret in North American business. I still can't believe it after 33 years, and this is my life, this is my career. How is that even possible? That company like Primerica has, again, more people making 100,000, half a million, $1 million than any of those Fortune 500 companies. So on the end of the day, this is the best time to tap into the wall of wealth. We have all this track record. I showed you my personal numbers, and this is before the wall of wealth. What used to take 10 years, it takes 10 months. What used to take 10 months is going to take 3 months. And the question is, how bad do you want it to be somebody? How bad do you want it to live on your terms? How bad do you want it to create wealth and financial freedom for you and your family? And you can do this without leveraging your house, buying a franchise for $300,000, quitting your job, putting everything on the line. You can just plug in to your little red wagon to our system. Follow the system, follow the steps like we did. Scared, new immigrants, 2 weeks in Canada, but we're hoping this is our shot. And Primerica delivered. In the last 33 years, if we ever done anything that we're not happy with, was not because of Primerica, because of our efforts, because of our commitment or lack of it. Everything else that Primerica promised delivered tenfold. And it's so much better today than it was 10 years ago, 30 years ago. And you might say, darn it, I should have started when Paul did. No, you should not wish that. We pay the price. We have the pathway. We were with the machetes in the jungle in 1990s, okay? Today, we have a big highway built for you. All what you have to do is be a decent person, care for people, have a little bit of a safe drive, be ambitious, and you want to be sick and tired of being where you are to the level enough that you're going to be again excited about learning new skill, that you can do something that can help you, your family, and people around you and create tremendous wealth and change your family tree forever. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you with everybody in the main group.
Paul, that was incredible.
Thank you.